So I guess this will be part two. Should be shorter. What are your historical standards? So Jesus didn't exist. Counter to all historical scholarship. Now, I don't include people who have ancient alien theories, or people who just try to sell books, or the Templar Code, or the Ark of the Covenant is buried in Oak Island, or any nut job mainstream scholarship. Evil mainstream secular scholarship. Those bad guys, yeah. Yeah. All the scholarship and the weight of history and evidence. So Jesus, son of Mary and Joseph, didn't exist, and nothing in the 27 book canon of the West can be counted as evidence or even looked at as evidence critically, because 400 to 500 years after it was written, some people included it in a codicy and called it scripture. That's very logical. Did Paul exist? What standards do you have for Paul existing and not Jesus? Did Ignatius of Antioch exist? Did Simon Peter? Did Polycarp? Did Justin Martyr? Did Irenaeus of Lyon? Did Cyprian of Carthage? Did Athanasius and Arius, two guys at the Council of Nicaea, did they exist? Did the Council of Nicaea take place? See, because you'd have to go. I mean, if you're on the slippery slope, you'd have to retreat back to, or all the way forward to, Theodosius making Christianity the official religion of the Eastern Roman Empire in the 390s. You'd pretty much have to wipe out Constantine altogether. But you have a problem there, seeing that the earliest manuscripts of the New Testament date to the early 2nd century, 117, AD 117. That's of John, which means from the time that secular scholars say it was penned, that's less than 20 years. 20 to 30 years from the date it was penned to the earliest manuscript. Surprise, surprise, we don't see any change in that. But then we have manuscripts after that, and after that we have lineage of about 20-year gaps, multiple manuscripts, and many times complete manuscripts once we get to the 3rd and 4th century. And the scraps that we do have from even earlier than that line up with, we don't see any huge variant at all. We don't see any alternative theology or reading or information that we didn't already have. These books were kept in sound. They were relayed because they were underground, and if you actually owned a copy or read a copy, it could cost you your life. So you were people who read these, made sure not to screw with it. Because there were accounts of what they believed was their risen Lord, what that means, whether they thought he was an angel, whether they thought blah, 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 many versions. And not to mention the wide variety of near 6,000 manuscripts, which nothing like that we have from antiquity, and the proximity of date author to earliest manuscript. And everything extra biblical outside of the New Testament being written basically simultaneously as some of the books in the New Testament. Didache, Epistle of Barnabas, placed 2 Peter very late, so Ignatius of Antioch would be one of them, this guy. Where would you, people say, well, the books of the Bible should meet a higher criteria. Why? Because some people in some places well, not even that. Some people very recently claim that they were inspired by God, meaning dictated, which the Christian church never believed. Were they inspired by God? Yeah, they were. Even atheists can say they were inspired by God. The people who wrote Mark, or the guy Mark who wrote Mark, was inspired by his belief in God. Was inspired by God. He believed in God and wrote this. He's inspired by it. Some people are inspired by patriotism. Some people are inspired by money.